The Seattle Kraken get a win. It was not a pretty win, but a win is a win, and this Seattle Kraken team needs wins. Let's talk about it on today's episode of Locked On Kraken.
You are Locked On Kraken, your daily podcast on the Seattle Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what do you say, Seattle hockey fans? Welcome to another episode of Locked On Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we bring you your favorite team every single day. Erica L. Ayala here, and yes, I am in the UMA hat, and no, the UMA hat was not made to wear with headphones, but I've been having some audio issues, so I want to make sure I'm monitoring as we go on with the show. The Seattle Kraken get an overtime win, and it was a big one. And, you know, this is a team that needed a win, particularly love to see them get a win in the Pacific Division. You know, this was a shorthanded Vancouver team. They were without Quinn Hughes. That's a huge absence, without Elias Pettersson. And all of those are not the only reasons, but significant reasons that the Seattle Kraken needed to figure out how to get this win. And that's exactly what they did. And huge in this game is that we get a goal. It was the first goal for the Seattle Kraken from Matty Beniers. And you know, we're going to break down Matty Beniers, talk about his game a little bit because, you know, we've just wanted to see more. I've told you that I really think Capo Caco on that line with Matty Beniers is going to be huge. That was a huge impact for this team, particularly because of how Jaden Schwartz played. Come on. And we're going to talk about Jaden Schwartz as well. But Beniers got that first goal for the Seattle Kraken in the second period. So that tied the game. And we, again, are going to hear from Matty Beniers after that goal. But the game winner on a breakaway from defenseman Vince Dunn. And right now, I want to take you to Vince talking about that opportunity in overtime. And so right now, I want to take you to Vince Dunn talking about that opportunity in overtime. And then you'll also hear Dan Bylsma talk about it as well. Here's Vince Dunn, defenseman for the Seattle Kraken, who got the game-winning goal in overtime on a breakaway.
Honestly, it was kind of a blackout. I don't think I've ever had a breakaway in my life. So I saw Chandler behind me, and I'm like, oh, maybe this is going to be a little easier. Maybe I just drop it to him. And then he said, it's all you. So then the pressure was on me, and I beat the goalie in the same spot earlier in the period there, late in the third. So I just tried to do the same thing and got a great result.
Vince Dunn is like, he's just red-faced, throwing it all out there. It comes up big for us with a goal. Puck lands on a stick in overtime. I think he was looking for some help from some other people because D-men don't often find themselves on a breakaway. But, you know, just the mentality, he's going to go out and get it done and go out and do it is what he's bringing to our team.
You know, I love that. We're going to hear a little bit more from Vince Dunn about the game, but we'll talk about this a little bit later in the episode. But then also, I'm hoping that I'll do a little bit more of a closer to game time episode. We do have some updates that we got from yesterday's practice about Joey Decord, Andre Burakovsky, Chandler Stevenson, but I'm sure we'll get more updates. So we'll have a little bit more. But I just love that everyone knew that Vince was probably like, oh crap, I'm on this breakaway, right? So we heard from Vince, we heard from Dan Bylsma, but I want you to hear a little bit more from Vince Dunn, because again, this was not like, make no mistakes, this was not a pretty game, but it was a significant win. So here's a little bit more from Vince Dunn.
A lot of holes for ourselves these past few games, and to respond that way, Owen feels really good. Absolutely, desperation, hard on pucks, throwing things towards the net, and I think they definitely felt the pressure when we just kept coming after them, wave after wave, line after line. There wasn't necessarily any systematic things that we changed at all. It's just finally committing to each other and playing the right way. I think maybe our execution and we made things a little bit harder on ourselves. I don't think it was as ugly as maybe some of our past games. I even think, that Colorado game, it's a big spread in the score, but with the 2 empty netters, it wasn't that bad of a game compared to most. I mean, we can never be happy with losing a game, but we can take good things out of some losses, and I think just today we were determined to come back, and it's just great to see us finally do it.
Determined. I love that. This team was determined to get this win. We heard it before the game. If you were listening to the TV broadcast, then you heard it mentioned multiple times in studio, on the broadcast, the live broadcast with Piper Shaw. This team knew that they had to come out of the break and make something happen. But the reason I wanted to play that clip that you just heard from Vince Dunn is because, and Zane Begg and I alluded to this on an episode, it's not that the Colorado game was the worst we've ever seen the Kraken play. Like, the score seems a little lopsided. We talked about those 2 empty net goals. We know now Joey Daccord suffering an injury. And Dan Bylsma did confirm at Sunday's practice, that Joey tweaked something at a practice in Colorado, and then it got tweaked again. It got re-injured, I guess, so to speak, again in the game. He finished that game, but the last we heard as of yesterday from Dan Bylsma is that Joey Daccord not likely to return. So that conversation I had with Zane, how long are we going to see Philip Grubauer? What do we need to see from Philip Grubauer? Still on the table. At least that's what it sounds like. So again, if you're listening to this on game day, because we play the Utah Hockey Club today, the Seattle Kraken do at Climate Pledge Arena, then there should be a bonus episode. The Seattle Kraken will not have a morning skate. Again, they had practice yesterday, but they will, or I should say, Dan Bylsma will talk to media before the game, and I would love to hear what he has to say about a few different updates and if there are any changes, things of that nature. So hang tight, everydayers, OGers, because I think there's more coming from Kraken Nation and maybe some updates. That game winner, huge. When I was on the road with the team, I caught them in New Jersey and New York. I really focused and hunkered down on what Vince Dunn meant to this team in his comeback. And we saw that his performance in this game was huge. And, I also want to go to, the instant analysis and the analytics from Allison Lucan. This is a game, first bullet point, the Kraken deserved to win. And Allison talked about a few different things in the post game, but I loved that she breaks this down. The Kraken earned this win. They earned every second of this win. They created 56.2% of all 5-on-5 shot volume, out attempting the Canucks 50 to 39. Now, I do want to emphasize 5-on-5 because special teams were not the Kraken's friend here. Brock Boeser scores the first goal on a power play opportunity, and it's just, it was an awkward play. Shane Wright involved there, and you have to dig yourself out of that hole. But otherwise, as we see, when this team, the Seattle Kraken, can stay 5-on-5, they are able to get things done. Regarding the power play, the Seattle Kraken had 3 opportunities they could not convert. That was something that you heard the TV broadcast being very critical about. And I think that they were alluding to maybe the coaching staff not making the right choices with personnel. When you have a power play that's not successful, I'm hard pressed to argue, right? But I think also you have to think about some of the larger issues of just consistency that this team has been having. But either way, so the Canucks were 50%, including, that was the difference there, that Brock Boeser goal that I just mentioned. So, had to bounce back from that. But I want to talk about Philip Grubauer also. According to the instant analysis, this was not considered a quality start for Philip Grubauer. If we look at the box score, Philip Grubauer, he faced 22 shots, made 18 saves, allowed 4 goals, 1 power play goal, 3 at even strength. So that's good for an 818 save percentage. That being said, Philip Grubauer made some massive saves in this game. And it goes back to the conversation ongoing that I have on this program, Locked on Kraken. Philip, I even have his button. I mean, I haven't gotten to the button bag. It didn't bring us any luck last year, but I have the button of Philip Grubauer because I wanted to make sure this was my reminder to talk about Philip Grubauer. The saves that he was making were massive. That goal with Larson and just, some of these were just, again, it's so hard to figure out. It's positioning for our defense for sure. It's timing of when we're giving opportunities. And it's the fact that you have Philip Grubauer making these massive saves, and then the team doesn't reset. And I think it was Linda and Allison, I think in the second intermission, that broke that down. That's huge. And that is continually what I say. The TV broadcast, I watched the TV broadcast after I already knew the result. I was listening to the radio in real time. It's so interesting to me that some people found it, they were critical of me saying that this is a Seattle Kraken team historically and in real time. I was actually saying this last year, but I think it relates to this year, that this is not a good defensive team. I say it all the time. I'm not talking always about our blue liners. That has been the case in the past. I actually think our defense, our defenders, our defensemen, and what they're able to bring to the table continue to get better every year. The way this team, the Seattle Kraken, plays defense, it's not good enough. Generally speaking, historically speaking, it's not good enough. And I love that we were able to overcome some of that to win this game, but it has to be fixed. And Philip Grubauer, not considered a quality start. Actually, the graphic here says something different than what I saw on NHL.com. So I'm just going to go with the graphic we have here from Allison's analysis. 17 of 21 saves, below saves expected by 1.5. That's the same for Thatcher Demko, though. Neither one considered a quality start comparative to goals expected. Thatcher Demko, that Matty Beniers goal, we're going to talk about that. Again, analyzing goaltenders, but specifically analyzing defense, is extremely hard to do through analytics alone. You have to see what's happening. You have to, in order to have a conversation, I believe this wholeheartedly, in order to have a real conversation about a team's ability to be effective on defense, you have to be able to break down film. But anyway, I digress. I said I wanted to talk about the Matty Beniers goal. We're going to do that. So not a great performance, but a good, solid win for the Seattle Kraken. Matty Beniers got his first goal in 20 games, and we're going to break that down, as well as talk about the quiet, unassuming leadership of Jaden Schwartz. All that and more on today's episode of Locked on Kraken. Today's episode of Locked on Kraken brought to you by Rocket Money. Hey, did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? That has definitely happened to me. Not necessarily with subscriptions, but just being able to see where my money is going, that has helped. And sometimes it's not that I had duplicate subscriptions, but I'm like, hey, if I'm subscribing to this, do I also have to subscribe to that? Sometimes it's yes, as someone who works in sports. Sometimes it's no. And the great thing is that Rocket Money has made it so easy to track everything down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, even the goals that you want to hit in the year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved over $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. And what I love is also sometimes Rocket Money will send me an alert. It's like, hey, this seems like a lot coming out of this account. Is this a transaction that you wanted? So I really love that as well. So you can cancel unwanted subscriptions, or like I said, even just make sure your money's going where you want it to go and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/locked-on today. That's rocketmoney.com/locked-on today. Once again, rocketmoney.com/locked-on. And thanks as always for making Locked On Kraken a part of your daily destination. Erica Ayala here, your host of Locked On Kraken. I am in my UMA hat because the Seattle Kraken, again, are back in the win column. Big, massive win for this team. Again, the team will tell you, not the prettiest win, but we say it in hockey. They don't ask you how, they ask how many goals, and in this case, how many wins. We heard it a lot going into this game. I don't like saying games are must win in a hyperbolic way. This game against Vancouver just felt like the Seattle Kraken needed this game, but it's not enough. It's not enough in how this game went down. It's not enough for this season. There's still a lot of improvements, but we still want to highlight what did work, and getting Matty Beniers activated was huge. So let's hear from Matty Beniers and what he said after the game about the win, about his goal.
I think, we were just, being aggressive and honestly just putting any puck to the net that we could. We were fortunate to get some to sneak in, and that's sometimes how it's got to go. You just throw it on net and, goes in for you. I don't know. We're just trying to scramble, find a goal. It obviously wasn't a pretty game in any way, shape, or form, and it followed that path all the way till the end. So, Chach obviously huge goals, tying it up, Dunner, and Dunner with the win.
Yeah, everyone should take away from Matty's goal. I think early on in this game we were looking to make it perfect to get a chance to score. We were passing up shots or begging for a perfect shot to try to think you can score on Demko, and just Matty putting the puck to the net and getting a goal is a positive result of just say we just got to shoot the puck any chance you get and get a positive result. So it's great for Matty. It should be good for the rest of the team as well.
I love that from Dan Bylsma. I also love that Piper Shaw caught up with Jessica Campbell in between the periods there. And what Jessica Campbell told Piper is that there's been a focus, a concentrated effort with Matty Beniers to give him praise, to give him his flowers, right? And again, this is something Zame and I talked about a little bit on the last episode we recorded together, but we talked a lot about it offline before we recorded. And what Zame has been saying, and what I agree with, since last season I've said this, but I digress. I agree that Matty is focused and he is improving constantly to be, as Zame was explaining, one of our elite level he's not a defenseman, he's a centerman, but one of our elite defenders. And that's what I mean. Not just focusing on the blue liners, but like the team defense. Matty Beniers keeps he works overtime at times to keep the Seattle Kraken in games, to make sure that we are not handing over the puck in the neutral zone, along the boards, things of that nature. And what Jessica Campbell told Piper is that the team now and the coaching staff is focusing on actively empowering him, supporting him in finding his offense. because and Dan Bylsma broke this down even further at practice yesterday and talking about Matty Beniers as this perfectionist. He wants to be perfect. He wants to get the perfect shot. And you heard it in that clip a little bit. We heard it again and again. I'll have a more robust game day type episode, but I really want to break this down because I think this is critically important, and it's why I've been reluctant to really get on the coaching staff for what has been a disappointing season, because I do see the coaching staff putting in work. Jessica Campbell telling Piper, we're telling him to shoot. We're telling him that we not only want him to shoot, the team is saying we need you to shoot. They need Matty Beniers to shoot. And his smile, the way the team celebrated when he got that goal, got the monkey. He didn't throw the monkey off his shoulder this time, but the joy, and it came from a shot that Thatcher Demko probably wants back. But you take the shot, something happens, and that was the story of this game. We're going to talk about Jaden Schwartz later in the episode. This team has had to let go of perfection. And I talked about this, right, on a recent episode. There's a fear, a fear maybe of failure, right? A fear of maybe doing the wrong thing. You just felt it. There was something that this team was hanging on to too tightly. Not just literally their sticks, but I think it's this idea of perfection. We've been talking about it on the show. And so to hear Coach Campbell break that down, to hear Dan Bylsma reinforce that and say, we want our guys to take the shot, not overthink it, not want it to be perfect. He gave an example of Jared McCann in practice and that he liked that. And from the way he spoke, he didn't explicitly say this, but it just sounded to me like whether he did that for the entire team's benefit or with those particular players, that he really circled that moment in practice. Hey, Jared didn't look for the perfect shot. He took the opportunity that was presented to him. And that's what happened in this game for the Seattle Kraken, because baby, I was listening on the radio. I'm walking back from having lunch with friends, so I missed the other goals after the power play goal that Vancouver scored in real time. Like I said, I watched the game after. But so I'm listening, I'm turning on Everett and Al, and they kept saying how much time was left. And I love that Everett and Al have this, they just are, they keep it really real. I really have loved listening to the radio broadcast this year. I made it a point to do that. Speaking of my subscriptions, I actually added a subscription so I could listen. But they also just were real. They were to the point about what wasn't working for the Seattle Kraken, but there was also this optimism. Same thing when I rewatched the TV broadcast. Linda Cohn said something. I can't remember. I wish I would have written it down, but there was some phrase that she said, kind of like, why not us? Or like, anything could happen. Like, that's what, something like that she said at the end of the second intermission. And of course, as I'm watching the TV broadcast, I already knew what happened, but I remember Everett saying something, and it was like, let's see what the team can do in the next 90 seconds, right? And I'm like, in a minute 30, like, there's no way. I'm thinking, I got to be honest, confession time, everydayers and OGers. I had a moment where I did not hold fast, where I did not stay true. I was like, I don't know, Kraken. I don't know if you can do this. But Everett had that faith and that belief. Linda put it out there. And even after that disallowed goal, the team, they found a way to fight back. And so why am I bringing all of this up? Because to me, the theme of this game was to take opportunities as they come. That's what the Seattle Kraken team is focused on. And they had a mindset shift after that goal was disallowed. Their mindset shifted and there was urgency. How much have we talked about urgency? And this team just doesn't have enough urgency at times. There's not ownership and accountability. The entire team, from what we've heard from Dan Bylsma, what we've heard from Vince Dunn, Matty Beniers, Jaden Schwartz, he did speak. The audio wasn't great, and there was like games on actually CBS Sports. I write for CBS Sports. There were football games on in the background, so I didn't want to play that on the show. But that after that goal was disallowed, still down 4-1, and this team makes a massive comeback, grittiness, determination, and the steel and unwavering leadership, fortitude, talent, belief, whatever you want to say, of one player in particular, and that's Jaden Schwartz. That's what made the difference in this game, and hopefully it is part of the uptick in what can change this season and this just overall trajectory of this Seattle Kraken franchise. So we're going to break that down coming up on today's episode of Locked On Kraken. Thanks as always for making Locked On Kraken a part of your daily destination. Erica L. Ayala here. And for those watching on video, my throat feels a little sore. I'm going to try to do the rest of this episode without breaking my voice. As I was putting together today's clips, I was also yacht rock karaokeing. So I hit the Doobie Brothers a little too hard earlier in the day, but glad to have you here. It is a game day. We're going to focus a little bit more on Utah in a later episode. I mentioned at the top, just in case you missed it, Burakovsky has hit the ice again and practiced with the team. Joey Daccord did some work on his own yesterday. Heard from Dan Bylsma also yesterday on Sunday that he's not likely. Dan was being mildly cryptic, but also like, hey, I said what I said, and if you can't figure out what I meant, then I don't know what to tell you kind of vibe. Stevenson had a maintenance day, but this is a Seattle Kraken team that can they harness some of that? Not a perfect game, not a pretty game, but it was a gritty game. And that came from the leadership of Jaden Schwartz. Let me just take you back, right, to what we saw in this game. So the game summary, NHL.com. I mentioned the Brock Bozer power play goal. Matty Beniers scores. We talked about that. Then we have Connor, Garland, Brock Bozer again, Jake DeBrusk, all scoring before Jaden Schwartz gets his first goal. And that comes in the third period. Now, this was a wild goal. This one was the one where he shot from below the goal line. And this is quintessential, just get a shot up. He didn't even think that was going in as a goal, but you shoot the puck, good things happen. Vince Dunn gets his first goal unassisted. Jaden Schwartz again to tie the game at the 19:10 mark in regulation. And then, of course, setting up for the Vince Dunn goal. So Jaden Schwartz, huge. Jaden Schwartz himself, he didn't get an assist on the Beniers goal. So he had just the 2 points. Daniel Sprong sets up Jaden Schwartz. Daniel Sprong back in the lineup. I think he's still trying to find his stride. We'll hopefully be able to talk about him down the road here. But massive. And so many people had great things to say about Jaden Schwartz. Let's hear from some of them, Vince and Matty, and what they have to say about their teammate.
Yeah, it was huge. I think it was, he's just a guy that you can depend on at all times. And, we did it again today, and he came through for us with two big ones there at the end.
Just talking about him a little bit, he's been a mentor for me ever since my very first NHL game. So to play with him my entire career, it's been a blessing and an honor, and I'm so proud to be his teammate. And just for the younger guys coming in, I think he's a great guy to lay on when things are maybe a little bit difficult for you. He's a great leader, like you said, not always the loudest guy in the room, but always saying the right things and always playing the right way.
Jaden Schwartz, again, huge for this team. He spoke yesterday on Sunday while the guys were getting off the ice, catching up on the football games. But, he talked about Jaden Schwartz, that is just being able to attack the net, being able to find something, generate something, and the commitment that the team had. He really made it about the team, but you can hear from what Matty Beniers said, Vince Dunn just reflecting on a career that he's been able to work alongside Jaden Schwartz, and you can see how appreciative he was of that. Those guys winning the Stanley Cup together, but the respect. I have always loved Jaden's game, and when we don't have a lot of size, a lot of grit, Jaden Schwartz plays that consistently for us. And I just think we need a guy like Jaden. You want to call him a glue guy, you want to call him a leader, you want to, whatever it is. But Jaden Schwartz has been massive for this team in not just that win, but in his career as a member of the Seattle Kraken. And as much as we talk about, do we need the youths, right? Do we need a youth movement? Do we have too many veterans? What are the contracts? This, that, and the third. I never worry about any of that with Jaden Schwartz, because you know what you're going to get. He goes out and plays hockey, and we need more of that. We need more people leaning into how Jaden Schwartz plays the game. And so you don't want it to be this case, but we're humans, right? Sometimes you need to get a win like you did against Vancouver to reinforce why you do everything that you do. This was not a pretty game. Shane Wright, feeling some kind of way, I'm sure, about getting that penalty. But you find a way to win together. The joy, and it's in the thumbnail. I wanted to make sure to give you a team photo for the thumbnail. So if you haven't looked at it, go check it out, because this was a team win. That's Kraken hockey, baby. That's Kraken hockey. And we have to see more of it. This team, the way it's built still, it was true definitely in the inaugural season. And it's true today. Will win games if they play as a team, if they are defensively sound and they play as a team, never fight, never give up. That's Kraken hockey. And I'm glad we're seeing it. The next step is to bring it to scale, to use an entrepreneur, to bring it to scale. We need consistency. And they have a chance against Utah. And it's the Maestro bobblehead day. Truly, if anyone wants to send me a Oliver Bjorkstrand bobblehead, I will gladly accept. Thank you very much. I have some bobbleheads over here, still in the box, gifted to me. Thank you so much. But the Maestro, I can't wait to see the stats after today's bobblehead day. It's a game day. I will have more updates for you later in the day. Until then, be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. Maybe listen to some Doobie Brothers. That's what I've been doing today, and I'm feeling amazing. My voice is a little hoarse, but if that's the price to pay, I will take it. Tonight, hold fast, stay true, loud and proud we say, let's go Kraken. I will catch you on the next episode, which just might be our game day preview. All right, everybody, peace out.